look back look back on their history and try to absorb as much of the information as we can. Um, our heritage is built on storytelling, so a lot of the things that we learned are from our past ancestors, like our grandmothers and aunts, uncles, different things like that. But historically, we have a lot of Black culinarians that don't get the just due that they do. Um, and we most people don't know that most African American slaves used the most minimal product that was available to them during that time, and hoe cakes is a product of that. Cornmeal was cheap, plentiful, due to them farming a lot of corn, and really and truly, the corn was ground for the animals, but it was also given to the slaves because it was a cheap product and it was not protein, which was hard to come by back then. So I hope you guys will take a moment to learn a little bit about some of the African American history, not only through culinary, but through some of our civil rights leaders. And, if you have an African American museum in your town, please take an opportunity to go join and walk through it. Here in the DFW, we have an amazing African American museum that gives us a lot of protocol and different things, quilts, talks about the stories, the Negro League, different things like that. So once again, thank you guys for joining, and hope you enjoy this video that we're going to play for you. It's a great recipe that my grandmother and my aunt passed down to me, and I've used it all ever since and give it to my daughters, who I hope will use it as well. So if we want to start the video, Hannah, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Hi guys, I'm Chef Sean from Intuit Plano. I'd like to welcome you guys to my Chef Corner today. Today we're going to be celebrating Black history, and I'm going to make a dish that's famous in the Black culture, especially the Southern heritage. I am grateful and joyful to be able to share this recipe with you, and I hope you guys can follow along and maybe it become a family favorite for you. Sugar, salt, and a little oil, as well as we have hot water that's boiling right now. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to add your yellow cornmeal. You can use white if you like, into the bowl. We're going to follow that with our 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, and we're going to stir that together to get those things incorporated. Then we're going to take our cup of butter. You can use, I'm using unsalted butter. You use whatever you like. And right now we have 4 cups of water boiling, and we're going to add that to our mixture. And you can add it. What I do is I add some and I'll take it away, and then I'll add more. But you want to make sure this water is hot. It's going to start the process of cooking. It's going to help melt your butter and work everything in together. So, a lot of people, this recipe is called, hoe cakes, but a lot of people call this hot water cornbread in the South. This is a traditional bread that's made throughout the South, that was incorporated by slaves because at the time they didn't have a lot of things, so they used what they had, and during that time, cornmeal was plentiful. It was cheap, and it was something that they could get their hands on. So as we work that in, we're gonna let our butter melt. And as you see, I probably put half of that water in here, but you might not have to add the whole 4 cups, just depends. So you're looking at right now, I probably added 3 cups of water total to this. And then once we get this into a nice slurry, the cornmeal's scalded, your butter's melted, we're gonna work in our flour, and I have a half a cup of flour here. We're gonna add that to the bowl.
and then that out of there. And then we're going to work that flour in. The one thing that you don't want to do is put your flour in before, because what'll happen is it'll cook that flour and give it a raw taste. So you want to make sure that you use that flour to thicken your cornbread, and make sure you don't put it in there before, because it will give that a really raw taste and not be a pleasant taste for you. So we got all that mixed in, and in just a moment we're going to start making our hoe cakes. All right, guys, welcome back. I'm going to start now. I have a pan over medium-high heat, and I have canola oil. You can use olive oil. As you can hear in the background, I got my oven preheated to 350. And the reason I'm doing that is not to cook the cornbread in the oven, but as you make your hoe cakes, you can place them on a pan or a plate to keep them warm, and as you make one after the other. So right now I'm going to go in and I'm going to add a little bit, probably add in about a teaspoon of olive oil to my pan that's already preheated. And then I'm going to take a ladle, and it's at your discretion. I mean, I like mine kind of thin with a little bit of crust on them. It just depends on the person, but I'll lay it out kind of like a pancake. And I'll come back over here and I'll lay another one out. And it's okay if they touch. You can distribute them how you want. They're not going to be perfectly round or perfectly, and that's the thing about home cooking is everything's not going to be perfect symmetrical. You're going to have little bitty crispy ends, and I mean, personally, I love that. Probably one of my best to eat when you're making these. As a kid, my grandmother used to make these, and my biggest thing was getting the crispiest one. So usually that's the last one that she made. So we have these over medium heat. We're gonna let them brown on one side, and they kind of give you they kind of let you know when they're ready. They're gonna give you sense, like they'll start crisping around the edge, and you'll get a little bubbles in the middle, just like kind of like a pancake. But they'll start setting, and you'll see how they're getting done. So I would tell you probably anywhere from a minute and a half to 2 minutes on each side is going to give you proper doneness. You could even go 2 to 3 minutes on, but depends on how big you make them, how thick you want them. But a typical one's going to be a minute and a half to 2 minutes on each side. You can make these ahead of time, and like I said, warm them back up in the oven. I would tell you that these are not only just for dinner. As a child, we used to have these at breakfast, and we would have them with butter and syrup. So it's something that you can. It can be a snack. It could be something that supplements dinner. It could be something that works for breakfast. It's an all-around great dish that you can use. We're going to go in here and check these and see where we're at. And we're working this one around. Let's see if we can get that up there. There we go. Perfectly golden brown. So we see that? These are working out pretty nice. And I always like, when I'm doing this, I like to tip the pan away from me and flip them over, because that's where your oil is going to go, and it keeps it from getting on you, splashing back and burning you. So that's a great way to do that. And like I said, that gives you, gives you a plentiful amount, and it gives it, as you can see, that was a minute and a half to 2 minutes, and gives you golden, crispy edges right there. And we're going to do another 1.5 to 2 minutes, and you're going to come out with a delicious buttery hoe cake that works with everything. Like I said, we're going to let these cook.
Seems like the video just cut off.
Yeah. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on, but it was almost at the end, but it wasn't at the end of the video. Yeah, me too, Chef. So I don't know what happened, but I can tell you guys that at the end product, I just went over, I plated up the product with a little butter and finished it with how my grandmother used to cook it for us. We finished it with butter and sorghum syrup, something you can, get anywhere now. But back in the day, it was, a great condiment that I love to eat. So my whole cakes, you can eat it with jams, curds. You can eat it with just butter. You can have it for breakfast. You can have it for lunch. You can have it for dinner. It can be an accoutrement to something like beans or greens or whatever. But to me, as a kid, I grew up eating them like a version of pancakes with butter and syrup, and it was delicious to me. And I'll continue to do that. And in the video, I showed you that I was.
I got a story about the evolution of that dish if you want me to share.
Sir?
I said I have a story about the evolution of that dish if you don't mind me sharing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I grew up with something very simple called chocolate chip pancakes, and it's believe it or not, it's related to what you just did. I think it is. Anyway, my mom used to make cornmeal pancakes, and I don't know anybody's mom who used to do that in the neighborhood I grew up in. But she used Jiffy cornbread mix, and on the packaging, there's a recipe for pancakes. So every Saturday, she would make cornbread pancakes with chocolate chips in it, and she'd make plates of it. And I had two brothers and myself, and she would make so many of these that we would eat them all day long. She would basically just leave the plate on the counter, and as they chilled or got to room temperature, they took on a different texture, almost like a soft cookie. And when you bit into it, the chocolate had gotten hard after cooling, and it was like a chocolate chip cookie, but with the flavor of cornmeal. And, eventually some of our friends got in the house on Saturdays and found out that she made these every Saturday. And literally we had kids knocking on our door on Saturday afternoon, like, hey, you guys want to play? Because they knew we had chocolate chip pancakes on the counter. But it was a cornbread pancake. And I never thought that was weird because I grew up with it, but everyone else thought it was very unique. So your dish reminded me of that. I just figured maybe that's an evolution of where the tradition came from. I never thought of it. I never even, realized that was a possibility. But they're famous. I still have friends today that I haven't seen since the old neighborhood. They always ask, does your mom still make the chocolate chip pancakes? So my kids didn't really care for them. I don't make them a whole lot here. They like buttermilk pancakes, so I haven't made them in a while, but we still make chocolate chip pancakes, but they're not like the hoe cakes. And I'm sure we would have loved calling them that too. I wish we would have known that name back in the day, but awesome segment, Chef. Thanks for sharing.
That product got its name due to the fact that they used the garden tool hoe to cook them over open fires at the end of the fields on the turn rows because they didn't have skillets or anything like that. They made them in the field. It was quick, easy, something they could carry out to the fields with cornmeal. I'm sure they didn't have as much sugar or salt as we have plentiful now. And they cooked it over fire, and they would have something to eat during their days working in the field. So that's how I got his name. It was my pleasure to share this with you guys. And like I said, I hope this is something that you can use or whip up one day for your family and, tell the story that you learned and, continue to, look at some of the great African-American culinarians. And, if anyone ever has any questions, feel free to reach out. And I'll pass this I'll pass this recipe along to Jennifer, and hopefully we can get it on Slack. And we'll, like I said, if any other recipes needed for Celebrate Black History, please reach out. I think Michael is going to do something as well this month. So thank you guys for joining me today, and look forward to it next time.